Okay, hello everyone. This is Kevin Kotz, and I will be your instructor for History 338, the Roman Empire. And what I have here is a map of the extent of the Roman Empire at its peak, where you have, let me see if I can draw in here. You've got England here, you've got North Africa, and at its furthest extent, it pushed all the way up to the mouth of the Persian Gulf, but that was only held for about a year. So a fairly large empire, and we are looking at the Roman Empire as opposed to all of Roman history. So I think some of you have had my Roman Republic course. If you haven't, it's no big deal. I've got a textbook that covers a good part of the first half of Roman history. We'll be picking up this particular topic in the 1st century BC, just to give you a little bit of introduction, and then we will move forward to the rest until about the beginning of the Byzantium, after the fall of Rome in the 500s. So just a little bit of information. My office, if you need to see me, is in SF 436. I've given you my office hours here, and you can certainly come in to see me, or we can set up a video conference through Zoom, and I will set that up through our Blackboard course. And then there is my email that's also on the syllabus. In terms of an overview of the course, so I just mentioned we are going to be looking at the Roman Empire, starting with really the first, not really, the first Emperor Augustus, and going through about the middle of the 500s AD. I've given you quite a bit of detail on the syllabus, so you can certainly look through that. In terms of assignments, so if you look down towards the middle of the syllabus, you can see a list of those. The big project that you'll be working on is a series of podcasts on a particular topic of your interest in the Roman Empire. And the syllabus goes into that, and I will certainly go into more detail once the course gets going. I will be breaking you up into teams, and then you'll have a team website, and then you'll be doing your own individual podcasts. So those podcasts will not be a team effort, but the website will be. We'll be doing 3 of those. These will take the place of a large essay. So you won't be writing a large essay in this course. We will be doing a series of discussion boards on the topic. Sometimes the discussions will be on primary texts, which are written by the Romans. Sometimes they will be on secondary literature, like journal articles on particular topics. We will have 3 quizzes in the course. We will not have a final exam. You will take the last quiz during the final exam period. I also will be creating these things called instruction quizzes, where I just want to make sure you understand the instructions for particular assignments, and you'll need to take a quiz and get 100% on that before you move forward. And then let me just switch to this. I'll talk about the last bit. So there is that should be required books. You can see all the readings on the syllabus. The first one is an excellent book called SPQR, A History of Ancient Rome. Now this is an interesting book in that it covers all of Roman history. So it goes back to sort of prehistory and then moves up to about the 3rd century AD, so the 200s AD. But it's really well written. It's sort of a fun thing to read. The second book is written by myself and a graduate student, Randy Utz. It's titled Roman Culture, Republic to Empire. I rarely have students buy a book that I've worked on, but in this case it was sort of designed for this particular course. And then we'll have some readings, primary texts. Again, these are written by the Romans. In terms of other assignments, I will have surveys that I will be sending out on the Roman culture book, because this is sort of a test case, and we would like to make the book a little bit better, and we want to get student input on that. You've all seen student learning outcomes. Every course should have them. I'm not going to go through all of these here, but what we will hopefully end up doing by the end of the class is that you will be able to say that you can do all these. So for example, compare and contrast different viewpoints of what happened in ancient history and come to your own conclusion. You should be able to do that in the podcast assignments. And if, another example, write and speak clearly, you'll be doing that in podcast as well. Okay, just really quickly, a few other details in case you haven't had a history course. Primary source, and I mentioned this a few times, it's anything written in the ancient world. So really anything that the Romans are writing, or if there are people living back in that time point that were writing about the Romans, that's a primary source. So a secondary source is written by you. So when you write your podcast essay, which you'll be reading, that is a secondary source, or any books like the SPQR book, or journal articles, which are included in the Roman culture book. That is a secondary source. And because I realize not many of you are history majors, I just want to go through a few definitions of things. And I do have some questions here. Maybe I'll set up a discussion board and we can sort of chat about some of the possible answers for these, because what you'll see is that there really isn't a specific answer. Historiography is the study of the writing of history, and that's not so much important for our class. It is if you are a history major and you'd be taking a course specifically titled that. But it's really about how the writing of history, how the topics of history have changed over time. One thing you need to think about, we are an upper level history course. What is history? Like, is it just, talking about great men and great deeds, which is what really the first definition of history is, or is it something else? So again, we'll set up a discussion board and maybe we'll have a chat about this during the first week. Something you should really be thinking about too, because we're a Roman history class talking about things that have happened over 2,000 years ago. Can you really know what happened in the past? And if we can't, what does that mean for our definition of history? What are the sources of history? So I've already talked about primary sources, primary text. We also need to consider archaeology as a source for what we're doing. And then once you figure out what the sources are, what can they tell us? What are the limitations of a primary source? What are the limitations of archaeology, or anything else that's coming from the ancient world? So what I'd like you to do now is to make sure that you go through the syllabus and read through everything. And of course, if you have any questions, be sure to send me an email. And I would prefer, I've mentioned this on the syllabus, I prefer that you not use the message system within Blackboard. I've been having trouble getting emails saying that I have a message, and it just makes for one more place to check email. So it'd be better just to send, for a faster response, send an email to my main university account.